The stars twinkled above the United Nations Space Command headquarters in Geneva. Commander Ethan Blackwood stood at the window, watching shuttles ferry diplomats to and from the massive alien ship hanging in the sky. The Zevran Empire had arrived 3 days ago, and Earth was still buzzing with excitement. "You don't look happy about our new friends," said Diana Miller as she joined him by the window. Her translator badge gleamed on her uniform. Ethan shook his head. "Something feels wrong. Their smiles don't reach their eyes." Diana laughed. "They have 6 eyes and mandibles instead of mouths. How can you tell? Call it a gut feeling." The Zevrans claimed to represent a peaceful union of 27 species that controlled most of the Orion Arm. They offered trade, technology, and cultural exchange. Earth's leaders were eager to join the galactic community. "Their language has odd patterns," Diana said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "When they think we aren't listening, they use different words. Words that sound like contain and neutralize." Ethan's skin prickled. "Show me what you found." In her small office, Diana played recordings of Zevran communications. "Listen to how they talk about us when they're alone." The alien voices clicked and hummed. Diana's computer translated. "Human advancement rate exceeds safety parameters. Recommend immediate containment." "They're afraid of us," Ethan said. "But why? Their ships could destroy our whole fleet in minutes." Ethan studied the data on her screen. "They've been watching us for decades. Look at these observation dates. They saw our world wars, our nuclear weapons, how quickly we went from horses to spaceships. So they came to make friends before we become a threat. Or they came to stop us before we can become one." Alarms blared throughout the building. Ethan's communicator lit up with emergency signals. "This is not a drill." Unknown energy signatures detected around all orbital stations, all personnel to battle stations. Ethan grabbed Diana's arm. "We need to get to the bunker." They ran through corridors filled with panicked staff. Through the windows, they saw bright flashes in the sky as orbital defense platforms exploded one after another. "They're taking out our defenses," Ethan shouted over the chaos. The building shook. Part of the ceiling collapsed behind them, blocking their path to the bunker. "This way." Diana pointed to an emergency exit. "The old subway tunnels connect to a secondary command center." They pushed through the door into the stairwell. The sounds of destruction followed them down into the darkness of the tunnels. "Why are they doing this?" Diana asked, her voice shaking as they hurried through the dimly lit passage. "We were no threat to them." "We were becoming one," Ethan said. "They've probably done this before to other species." The secondary command center was a scene of frantic activity. Screens showed Zevran ships deploying smaller craft to cities around the world. Admiral Mason looked up as they entered. His face was gray with shock. "Blackwood, Miller, good to see you alive. It's a full-scale invasion." They hit every major military installation simultaneously. "Casualties?" Ethan asked. "Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Communications are spotty." Diana pointed to one of the screens. "That's not a military target. That's a university." The admiral nodded grimly. "They're targeting research centers, power plants, transportation hubs. They want to cripple us, not just our military." "What's the plan, sir?" Ethan asked. "We fight back with everything we have, and we prepare for a long war." The admiral handed Ethan a data drive. "Special clearance. You and Miller are being assigned to Project Resistance. Get to the Rocky Mountain facility." As they gathered supplies for the journey, Diana looked at the scenes of destruction on the monitors. "We trusted them." Ethan checked his weapon. "That was our first mistake. It won't be our last." Outside, the sky burned red as Zevran ships descended through the atmosphere. The peaceful first contact had become humanity's darkest hour. But even as cities fell and nations crumbled, something stirred in the human spirit, something the aliens would soon learn to fear. 1 year had passed since the Zevran attack. Earth was now a conquered planet, Alien ships patrolled the skies above ruined cities. Most humans lived in controlled zones where they worked to supply the Empire with resources. But not all humans accepted defeat. Deep in the Rocky Mountains, Commander Ethan Blackwood stared at a map showing Zevran troop movements. The resistance base was hidden inside an old mining complex, safe from alien scanners. "They're moving more forces into Denver," said Lisa Reeves, the former park ranger who now led their scout team. "The aliens are nervous." "They should be," Ethan replied. "We've hit 3 of their supply depots this month." Diana Miller entered the room, her face pale. "We just lost contact with our Boston cell. All 20 members gone silent at once." A heavy silence fell over the room. This wasn't the first resistance group to disappear without warning. "Shadow Claws," Lisa whispered. Everyone knew about the Zevran's elite assassins. The Shadow Claws were living weapons, created by the Empire to eliminate problems quietly. They moved like shadows, killed without sound, and left no survivors. "We need to move our people out of the area," Ethan began. The lights flickered, then went out completely. "Power failure," someone called from the dark. "Not a failure," Ethan said, drawing his weapon. "They're here." Emergency lights cast red shadows across worried faces. Ethan felt a chill run up his spine. The same feeling he'd had before the first attack a year ago. "Everyone to defensive positions," he ordered. "Diana, secure the data core. Lisa, take your team and—" A strange hissing sound cut him off. Something dark moved across the ceiling. "Down," Ethan shouted, firing at the shadow. The creature dropped, but not because it was hit. It landed gracefully on clawed feet. Its skin absorbed light rather than reflected it. 6 yellow eyes glowed in its narrow face. A shadow claw. Resistance fighters opened fire. The assassin moved with impossible speed, dodging bullets and slashing with claws that cut through body armor like paper. 3 humans fell before Ethan managed to hit it with a specialized EMP round. The creature stumbled, its movements suddenly slower. Lisa fired next, her shot catching it in one of its eyes. The shadow claw screamed, a sound like metal tearing, and fell to the ground. "Secure it," Ethan ordered. "Use the containment protocols." The creature fought against the restraints as they dragged it to a holding cell designed for alien prisoners. It hissed and clicked in its strange language. "Is it the only one?" Diana asked, looking nervously at the shadows. Lisa checked the security feeds. "Looks like it was alone. Maybe a scout." Later, when the base was secure again, Ethan and Diana stood outside the cell. The shadow claw watched them with its remaining eyes. "Can you understand what it's saying?" Ethan asked. Diana adjusted her translator. "Partly. Their language is biological, relies on pheromones as much as sounds." The translator crackled. "Death sense, impossible. They smell death." "What does that mean?" Ethan asked. Diana frowned at her device. "It keeps using words for fear and impossible. I think it's afraid. Of us? That doesn't make sense. They're the perfect killers." A shadow claw pressed against the far wall of its cell, as far from the humans as possible. It trembled slightly. "Look at it," Diana whispered. "It's terrified." The alien assassin clicked rapidly. The translator caught fragments. "Knew I was coming. Sensed death. Humans not like other prey." Lisa joined them, studying the creature with careful eyes. "We weren't just lucky, were we? You knew it was there before it attacked. You felt it." Ethan remembered the chill up his spine, the certainty of danger. He had felt the same thing before other attacks too. "I think," Diana said slowly, "we may have just discovered why they fear us." Dr. Alan Foster carefully placed sensors on the shadow claw's scaly skin. The alien assassin remained still, watching the humans with 4 yellow eyes. Its 6th eye was still bandaged from Lisa's shot. "Amazing," Alan said. "Its body chemistry shifts constantly, like it's changing its scent and heat signature on purpose." 2 weeks had passed since they captured the Shadow Claw. They learned its name was Krekthar, and it had slowly begun to communicate with them. Diana sat nearby, her translator device improved with help from the alien's corrections. Krekthar, why does your kind fear humans? The alien's voice clicked and hissed. The translator converted. Humans sense death. No other prey does this. Impossible ability. Ethan leaned forward. What does that mean, sense death? Krekthar pointed one sharp claw at Ethan. You knew I was in your nest before attack. You felt me. All humans feel death approaching. Lisa nodded. He's right. We call it intuition or a gut feeling. That prickle on the back of your neck when something's wrong. That's just instinct, Dr. Foster said. All animals have. Not like humans, Krekthar interrupted. Shadowclaw is trained to hunt all species in Empire. Only humans know we come before we strike. Dr. Foster looked excited. Our evolutionary history as hunters. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We tracked prey for days, reading subtle signs in the environment. Diana turned to the alien. Your kind was designed to be perfect killers, yet you've never encountered beings who could sense you coming. Never, Krekthar said. Shadowclaw Guild fears humans now. Many refuse human hunting contracts. Ethan exchanged looks with the others. This was valuable information. So there are other Shadowclaws who won't attack humans. Many, Krekthar confirmed. Stories spread. Humans who see in dark. Humans who smell death. Humans who hear Shadowclaw thoughts. Dr. Foster laughed. Exaggerated fears based on our natural abilities. Not funny, Krekthar hissed. Shadowclaws die in human territory. Never happened before. Ethan saw an opportunity. If we trained humans specifically to detect and counter Shadowclaws, we could protect our leadership, Lisa finished, maybe even turn their own assassins against them. That evening, Lisa gathered 20 resistance fighters with hunting and tracking backgrounds. They stood in a large training room as Krekthar watched from a secure enclosure. The aliens think we have some magical ability, Lisa told the group. But it's just our hunter instincts. We're going to sharpen those instincts. For days, they trained. Krekthar demonstrated how Shadowclaws moved, how they masked their presence. The humans learned to notice tiny changes in air currents, subtle shifts in shadow patterns, the almost imperceptible sound of claws on surfaces. Lisa proved especially talented. Her years as a park ranger had already honed her senses. She could detect Krekthar's presence, even when the alien tried its hardest to remain hidden. You would have been killed last in my attack, Krekthar told her. Greatest honor for prey. I'm not prey, Lisa replied. And next time, you'd be the one who dies. 1 month after Krekthar's capture, perimeter alarms sounded at the base. Security feeds showed nothing, but Ethan and Lisa both felt that familiar prickle of danger. Shadowclaws, Lisa said confidently. At least 3. She gathered her newly trained hunter team. They moved through the base with a calm purpose that impressed even Krekthar, who watched from his cell. The attack came swiftly, 3 Shadowclaws dropping from ventilation shafts. But this time, the humans were ready. Lisa's team had positioned themselves perfectly, anticipating exactly where the assassins would appear. The fight was short and brutal. 2 Shadowclaws died. The 3rd was captured. When Ethan showed the captured alien that they already had Krekthar as prisoner, its reaction was pure shock. Impossible, it hissed. Guild said all sent to human territories never return. Tell your guild, Ethan said, that humans are done being hunted. Now, we're the hunters. 6 months passed. The human resistance grew stronger. Hunter teams protected their bases from Shadowclaw attacks. Stories spread among the aliens about humans who could sense death before it came. Ethan stood in the command center, looking at a map that showed Zevran forces pulling back from several areas. They're afraid, Diana said. Their assassins keep failing, and now regular troops are getting nervous too. Krekthar had become a valuable ally. He taught the humans about Zevran weaknesses and helped improve their weapons against the aliens. The Empire is not as united as they want you to believe, Krekthar told them. Many species serve only from fear. Lisa entered with her hunter team. They looked tired but proud after returning from a mission. The Zevran command post in Seattle is gone, she reported. We took out their communications center and freed 300 human workers. Ethan nodded. Good work, but we need to think bigger. These small attacks won't drive them off Earth. Diana had been studying Zevran communications. I found something interesting. Their main command ship will be in orbit next week. The fleet admiral is coming to personally deal with the human problem. That's our chance, Ethan said. If we can capture their admiral, we might force them to negotiate. Impossible, Krekthar hissed. Ship has too many guards. Nothing's impossible, Lisa replied. Not anymore. They planned for days. Krekthar revealed that Shadowclaws were not loyal by choice. The Zevrans control them with special technology implanted in their bodies. Like slavery, Diana said with disgust. Yes, Krekthar agreed. All Shadowclaws serve from pain and fear. Dr. Foster examined the implant in Krekthar's neck. I think I can disrupt the signal. If we could free other Shadowclaws. On the night of the mission, Ethan, Diana, and Lisa prepared to board a captured Zevran shuttle. 20 hunter team members and Krekthar would go with them. If we don't return, Ethan told Dr. Foster, activate the backup plan. Hit every Zevran base on the continent. The shuttle rose through the clouds toward the massive Zevran command ship. Krekthar sent signals that got them permission to land in a cargo bay. Remember, Ethan said to the team, our goal is the Admiral. We get to the bridge, capture the Admiral, and get out. They moved through the ship like ghosts. The hunters used everything they'd learned to avoid detection. When they met Shadowclaws, Krekthar spoke to them in their language. Some joined them after Dr. Foster disabled their control implants. On the bridge, Admiral Vexor of the Zevran fleet was shocked when the doors opened and humans walked in. Impossible, the Admiral shouted, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly. You'll find humans specialize in impossible things, Ethan said as his team secured the bridge. Diana accessed the ship's computer. Her eyes widened as she read the information. Ethan, this isn't just about Earth. The Empire is falling apart. Rebellions on 12 worlds. The Admiral hissed in anger. The Supreme Command will destroy your planet for this. A new Shadowclaw stepped forward from the shadows. Unlike the others, this one wore decorated armor. The Supreme Command grows weak, the Shadowclaw said. Many of us watch with interest what happens here. This is Vexra, Krekthar explained, High Guild Master of all Shadowclaws. Vexra studied the humans with curious eyes. Your kind does what no species has done before. You fight. You resist. You turn fear against us. Ethan looked at the Shadowclaw leader. Join us. Help us free Earth, and we'll help free your people. For the first time in the long history of the Zevran Empire, a High Guild Master of the Shadowclaws bowed to another species. The Empire has never begged, Vexra said. Soon they will learn how. News of the captured Admiral spread quickly through the Zevran Empire. Some Imperial commanders pulled their forces back from Earth, fearing the humans who could defeat even Shadowclaws. Others sent more troops, determined to crush the resistance. The Zevran command ship, now under human and Shadowclaw control, became the headquarters for the growing rebellion. Diana worked day and night, sending messages to other planets in the Empire. 3 more worlds have risen up against Zevran control, she told Ethan one morning. Your speech about freedom is spreading everywhere. Ethan looked out the view screen at Earth below. And our home. Admiral Kyle Bennett reports that our forces have retaken most of North America and parts of Europe. The Zevrans are in retreat. Vexra entered the room, followed by several Shadowclaws, whose control implants had been removed. My brothers and sisters arrive from across the stars, the Guild Master said. Many wish to join us. How many? Ethan asked. Thousands, perhaps tens of thousands. The Empire has lost control of its assassins. Diana's communication panel flashed with urgent signals. Multiple ships coming out of faster-than-light travel. It's the Zevran Supreme Fleet. Outside the view screen, space rippled as enormous warships appeared. They dwarfed the command ship and any human vessel. They've sent everything they have, Vexera said quietly. Admiral Bennett's voice came through the speaker. Commander Blackwood, Earth Defense Fleet is moving to intercept, but we're outnumbered 10-1. Ethan's mind raced. We need more time. Diana, open a channel to their flagship. The screen changed to show an alien with elaborate armor and jeweled eyes. Behind him stood other Zevrans wearing the marks of high government. I am High Commander Zorval of the Zevran Supreme Fleet, the alien said. Return our admiral and surrender your forces, or we will destroy your world. This is Commander Ethan Blackwood. We wish to negotiate. The High Commander laughed. A strange clicking sound. Negotiate. You are nothing. Your species is young and weak. The Empire has ruled for 10,000 years. Yet you fear us, Ethan said calmly. Why send your entire fleet against a young and weak species? The alien's eyes narrowed. We do not fear. We eliminate threats. Vexera stepped into view of the communication screen. The Zevran leaders gasped. Guild Master, what is the meaning of this treachery? Zorval demanded. The true treachery was using my people as slaves, Vexera replied. The humans have freed us. While the conversation continued, Diana whispered to Ethan, something's happening on their ships. I'm picking up unusual energy readings. Suddenly, several Zevran warships turned their weapons on other ships in their own fleet. Explosions bloomed in the silence of space. What is happening? Zorval shouted to someone off-screen. Vexera's eyes gleamed. My brothers and sisters serve you no longer. They choose freedom. A new face appeared on the screen beside the High Commander. This Zevran was younger, with simpler clothing. Father, this war must end, the newcomer said. Prince Zevnar. Diana whispered. The heir to the Empire. Silence, boy, Zorval ordered. You know nothing of rule. I know enough to see that we cannot win this fight, the prince replied. Not against humans who turn our own weapons against us, who inspire loyalty where we demanded fear. More explosions lit up the Zevran fleet as the civil war spread from ship to ship. You have a choice, Ethan told the High Commander. Continue this fight and watch your empire tear itself apart, or talk peace. The High Commander's face twisted with rage. This is not over, human. The Empire does not beg. The communication cut off. Diana's console lit up with new alerts. They're targeting Earth directly, she said. Energy readings suggest planet-killer weapons being armed. Vexera turned to Ethan. There is one option left. The weakness in all Zevran ships that the Empire has kept secret for centuries. Tell me, Ethan said. The battle for Earth and the fate of the Zevran Empire would be decided in the next few hours. The command ship shook as enemy weapons hit its shields. Red lights flashed throughout the bridge. Shields at 60%, Diana called out. We can't take much more of this. Vexera stood over a display table, showing Ethan and Lisa the plans of Zevran ships. Every Imperial vessel has a central power core with 4 backup systems. They are heavily protected, but there is one weakness. The Shadowclaw pointed to small tunnels running through the massive ships. Maintenance passages, too small for Zevrans, perfect size for Shadowclaws. We can reach the control systems for the planet-killer weapons. And disable them? Ethan asked. Yes, but we must board the flagship to stop all attacks. Lisa studied the plans. My hunter team can do this. We've trained for close quarters fighting. It's too dangerous, Ethan argued. More dangerous than letting them destroy Earth. Lisa countered. We need to go now. Vexera nodded. I will lead the Shadowclaws. We will clear the path. 10 minutes later, Lisa and her team of 6 hunters prepared to leave with Vexera and 12 freed Shadow Claws. They wore captured Zevran armor, modified to fit human bodies. "The transport will get you close to the flagship," Ethan told them, "but you'll have to spacewalk the final distance. Their security will detect any ship that comes too close." Lisa checked her weapons one last time. "We'll get it done." Diana hugged her friend. "Be careful." As their transport ship left, Ethan returned to the bridge. "Admiral Bennett, we need a distraction. Something big." "Already on it, Commander," Bennett replied. "All Earth ships are launching a coordinated attack on their right flank. Should keep their attention away from your team." The battle raged across space. Human ships darted between the massive Zevran vessels, their smaller size making them hard to hit. The civil war within the Zevran fleet added to the chaos as ships fired on each other. Diana monitored the mission team's progress. They've launched from the transport, beginning spacewalk to the flagship. Ethan watched on the screen as tiny figures moved through the battlefield, using debris for cover. Lissa led the humans while Vexera guided the Shadow Claws. They reached the hull of the flagship and cut their way inside. "They're in," Diana reported. Now they could only wait. The flagship continued to charge its planet killer weapon, a massive energy cannon aimed at Earth. "Weapon will be fully charged in 10 minutes, an officer warned. On the flagship, Lisa and her team fought their way through narrow corridors. The Shadow Claws moved like living shadows, taking down guards before they could raise alarms. When they reached the maintenance tunnels, only the smaller Shadow Claws and humans could fit. "These tunnels run close to the weapon control room," Vexera told Lisa. "But the final approach will be heavily guarded." Lisa nodded. "We'll handle it." They crawled through dark, hot tunnels until they reached a grate overlooking the control room. 20 Zevran officers worked at stations while guards patrolled the perimeter. "Ready?" Lisa whispered to her team. They nodded. The attack was swift. Shadow Claws dropped from above, causing confusion. Lisa and her hunters targeted the weapon control systems. Alarms blared as they fought their way to the main console. On the command ship, Diana suddenly straightened. "Energy levels on the flagship are fluctuating." They did it. But the victory was short-lived. New alarms sounded. "The weapon is overloading," an officer shouted. "It's going to explode." "Get our team out of there," Ethan ordered. Diana frantically tried to contact Lisa. "Lisa, you need to evacuate now. The weapon is unstable." Lisa's voice came through, broken by static. "Controls are locked. Can't shut it down properly. We're setting it to self-destruct." "Get out of there," Ethan demanded. "No time," Lisa replied calmly. "But we'll make sure it doesn't target Earth." Through the view screen, Ethan watched as the flagship slowly turned away from Earth. The planet killer weapon now pointed at the heart of the Zevran fleet. "Lisa," Diana whispered. The flagship exploded in blinding light. The shockwave tore through the Zevran fleet, destroying the High Commander's ship and crippling dozens more. When the light faded, the remnants of the once mighty fleet hung disabled in space. The Empire's greatest weapon was gone. And with it, some of Earth's bravest fighters. 3 days after the battle, the surviving Zevran ships remained in Earth orbit. Their weapons were powered down. They had not attacked again. Ethan stood in the observation room of the command ship, looking at the stars. Diana joined him, her eyes red from crying for Lisa and the others who had sacrificed themselves. "We've received a message," Diana said quietly. "The remaining Zevran fleet commanders want to talk. Prince Zevnar will speak for them." Ethan nodded. "Set up the meeting." The meeting took place on a neutral space station. Ethan and Diana represented Earth. Admiral Bennett and Dr. Foster came with them. Vexera spoke for the freed Shadow Claws. On the other side of the table sat Prince Zevnar and 5 Zevran commanders. Their posture was stiff, uncomfortable. "The High Command is gone," Prince Zevnar began. "My father died on the flagship. I now speak for what remains of the Empire." "What do you want?" Ethan asked simply. The prince's 6 eyes blinked slowly. "Peace," one of the commanders hissed in disagreement, but the prince silenced him with a gesture. "For 10,000 years, the Zevran Empire has conquered and ruled." Zevnar continued. "We believed it was our right. We feared any species that might challenge us. That is why we attacked Earth." "And now?" Diana asked. "Now we have seen what happens when an empire is built on fear instead of respect." The prince looked at the Shadow Claws standing with the humans. "We have seen slaves become allies. We have seen enemies show greater honor than rulers." To everyone's shock, Prince Zevnar stood and bowed deeply to the humans. "On behalf of the Empire, I beg for mercy, for my people, for all the worlds under Zevran control." The commanders reluctantly followed their prince's example, bowing their heads. Ethan looked at Diana, surprised by this turn of events. The mighty Zevran Empire was literally begging. "What exactly are you asking for?" Ethan questioned. "Allow our remaining ships to return home. Help us build something better than the Empire was, a federation where all species have a voice." Diana leaned forward. "Including Earth. Especially Earth," the prince said. "Your people have shown qualities we need: courage, innovation, and something we never understood before: mercy to defeated enemies." Ethan thought of Lisa and all those who had died fighting the Empire. His first instinct was to reject any peace, but that would only continue the cycle of violence. "We accept your surrender," Ethan said finally, "but with conditions. All occupied worlds must be freed, all slaves released, and Earth will help create this new federation, as equals." The prince nodded. "Agreed." 1 year later, Ethan stood in the newly built Unity Station orbiting Earth. Representatives from 32 formerly enslaved species had gathered to sign the Federation Charter. Diana had written much of it, ensuring rights for all beings. "I wish Lisa could see this," Diana said, standing beside him in her formal diplomatic uniform. "She made it possible," Ethan replied. Vexra approached them. The Shadowclaw Guild Master now led his people as free citizens. "The last control implants have been removed. My people are truly free." The ceremony began. Prince Zevnar, now simply Ambassador Zevnar, spoke first. "We came to Earth as conquerors. We leave as friends. Our feared assassins once hunted humans. Now they learn from humans. The Empire once ruled through fear. The Federation will lead through cooperation." When it was Ethan's turn to speak, he kept his words simple. "Humans were not special because we could sense danger or fight well. We were special because we refused to become like our enemies. When we had power, we chose mercy. That is humanity's greatest strength." As the representatives signed the charter, Ethan looked out at the stars. The galaxy had changed forever. The empire that had ruled for 10,000 years was gone. In its place stood something better, something built not on fear, but on respect. And it had all begun because alien assassins feared humans, and humans showed them a better way.